1979 lost the world 5 million barrels of oil a day and broke the American economy for a decade. Right now, the world is losing 9 million barrels a day. The International Energy Agency just called the 2026 oil shock the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. Bigger than 1973, bigger than 1990, bigger than 2022. Gas is already up 35%. Brent crude is up 44%. And the second wave, the one almost nobody is talking about, has not even started yet. Here is what to do about it. I'm Arthur Logic. In the last video, I showed you the 50-year pattern. Today, I'm showing you exactly where we are inside it. 8 weeks ago, on February 26, gas in the United States cost $2.96 a gallon. As of April 22, the national average is $4 It peaked at 4.16 earlier this month. That is a 35% move in 56 days. Brent crude went from $70 a barrel to over $100, briefly touching $119. None of those numbers are projections. They are receipts. Now look at the same window in 1973, 1990, and 2022. In every prior shock, gas needed 3 to 4 months to move that far. This one did it in 2. The Energy Information Administration estimates that 9.1 million barrels of crude oil per day are currently shut in across Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain. To put that in perspective, the 1979 shock that broke the 70s lost 5 million barrels a day. We are losing almost double. That is not a rhyme with history. That is history running ahead of itself. Fingerprint 1 is confirmed, and it is already on your grocery receipt. Diesel is up between 24 and 54%, depending on region. Diesel is what runs tractors, refrigerated trucks, and freight rail. Every step of the food supply chain, from the farm to the warehouse to your local store, costs more this week than it did 8 weeks ago. The Consumer Price Index hit 3.3% in March, the highest reading since May 2024. The U.S. Department of Agriculture just doubled its food-at-home forecast for 2026 to 3.1%. Fresh produce moves first because refrigerated trucking is the most diesel-dependent link. Meat follows because feed costs more to ship. Packaged staples lag because retailers absorb part of the hit before passing it on. If you have noticed your weekly grocery total quietly creeping up, you are not imagining it, and you are not at the end of the increase. Fingerprint 2 is confirmed. Fingerprint 3 is the one most people miss because it moves slowly. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate climbed to 6.38% on March 26. The 10-year Treasury yield jumped to 4.46% the next day, the highest level since July 2025. Higher Treasury yields push higher mortgage rates, higher car loan rates, higher credit card minimums, and stickier rent renewals. The pattern in 1973, 1990, and 2022 was identical. Energy shocks become rate shocks within 90 to 120 days. We are now inside that window. Anyone with a variable rate, an adjustable mortgage, or a renewal coming up in the next 2 quarters is feeling Fingerprint 3 even if they have not connected it to the war. Fingerprint 3 is confirmed, but here is the one that hasn't hit yet. Around 30% of the world's traded fertilizer flows through the Strait of Hormuz. Urea prices are already up 30 to 49%. Some spot prices have jumped from around $470 a ton to over $800. After the strike on Qatar's Ras Laffan facility on March 18, Asian liquefied natural gas spot prices rose 140%. Natural gas is the main feedstock for nitrogen fertilizer. Less natural gas means less fertilizer, and less fertilizer this spring means smaller harvests this fall. Every farmer planting corn, wheat, and soybeans right now is making a decision about how much fertilizer they can afford to apply. Lower application means lower yields. Lower yields mean higher grocery prices in the second half of 2026 and into 2027. This is the second wave. It has not landed in your supermarket yet. It will. 11% of your paycheck is already gone, and you didn't lose it at the pump or the grocery store. You lost it on the news cycle, watching the same movie play out for the 4th time. From 2021 to 2023, median household income in the United States rose 6.3%. Cumulative inflation in the same window was 17.8%. Real wages fell about 11%. The Federal Reserve's own household survey found that 37% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency with cash. The 2026 shock is layering on top of a cushion that for most households does not exist anymore. The IEA called this the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market for a reason. The cost is not at the pump, it is in the paycheck. But here's what the people who came out ahead of every prior shock actually did. 5 moves. None of them require an investment account or a financial advisor. Move 1, lock fixed costs first. If your rent is up for renewal in the next 6 months, negotiate now, while landlords still expect this year's renewals to look like last year's. If you are a homeowner with a refinancing window, watch the 10-year yield. Even a small dip is worth catching because every prior oil shock saw rates stay elevated for at least 18 months. Move 2. Shift any cash buffer toward holdings that historically moved with inflation, not against it. Across all 4 shocks, 3 categories outperformed cash by a wide margin: Treasury inflation protected securities, short duration bonds, and broad commodity exposure. This is not advice, it is what the data shows happened. Move 3. Audit the 4 grocery categories that move first in every oil shock: proteins, oils, packaged staples, and fresh produce. Pull your last 3 grocery receipts. Compare February to April. The categories that already moved most are the ones that will keep moving as fingerprint 4 lands, MEV 4. Front load 90 days of non perishables before the fertilizer wave reaches the harvest: rice, dried beans, oats, canned proteins, cooking oil, coffee. The 1973, 1990, and 2022 winners did this in months 1 through 3. We are in month 2 right now, MIV 5. Build a cash cushion for the fourth quarter. Aim for 6 weeks of grocery and utility spending in cash by August. The historical pattern shows the second wave of price increases hits 4 to 6 months after the supply disruption peaks. That puts the next wave squarely in your fall budget. 3 fingerprints are confirmed. The fourth is loading. The data is verified, the playbook is the same one that worked every prior shock, and the next 90 days are still yours to control. Drop a number in the comments. Out of the 5 moves, which one are you actually making this week? If this video gave you a clearer read on your next paycheck than the news did, hit subscribe so the next one finds you when it matters. Stay logical.